let's look what is the Western model of secularism all about. So when we talked about secularism, we said that the secular states, they are neither theocratic nor do they establish a religion in their country. So with regard to Western model of secularism, there is the first point that you have to notice, there is strict separation. There is strict separation between state and religion, or there is strict separation of state from the religion. Okay, that is, it is actually relying upon the principle of mutual exclusion, which means that it is relying upon the principle of mutual exclusion, which means that the state does not interfere in religious matters as well as the religion does not indulge in the state affairs. So it is basically relying upon the mutual exclusion principle. Okay, that is the first point which you have to keep in mind. So each is having an independent jurisdiction, we can say. Independent jurisdiction. Both works within their own individual spheres, or they are having that relative autonomy. Okay. Now, the next point that you have to remember under Western model of secularism is that in Western model of secularism, the state, they cannot aid any religious institution. Okay, the state cannot aid any religious institution. They cannot aid or support any religious institutions in any form. They cannot aid it. That's one thing you have to note down. Another thing is that they cannot, as well as they cannot financially support an institution which is being run by some religious community. Okay, they also cannot financially support the religious institution. So which means that in Western model of secularism, the religion is purely, or we can say it is distinctively a private matter, or it is a private affair. It has got nothing to do with the state affairs. So in Western model, it is a private matter and not a matter of state policy or law. Religion is strictly a private matter and not a matter of state policy and law. Now, the main thing that you can see in Western societies is that they are not that much religiously pluralistic. Unlike the Indian society, we know that in India, we are having a religiously a heterogeneous society, because we are having plurality of religion, or religious plurality is one of the salient features of Indian society. We have seen in our other session. So, when we compare it with the Western model, we can say that there mainly the predominance of a single religion is there, which is Christianity. So, we can see that the Western model of secularism, or the Western society, is religiously homogeneous. Western society is religiously homogeneous, because they are predominantly, it is actually the Christianity which is prevailing. So there is predominance of Christianity in the Western society. So it is religiously homogeneous. So what happens is that naturally the focus will be upon Which type of domination? Yes, in the earlier, say in the earlier we have seen that it is, there are two types of domination, which is inter-religious domination and intra-religious domination, and secularism is actually opposing both these dimensions of religion, which is inter-religious domination or intra-religious domination. Now you can see that in Western society it is homogeneity of religion, or there is only predominance of a single religion. So which type of religious domination will be present here mostly? Yes, it will be intra-religious domination, or the domination within the same religion will be most common form dimension of religion that you can see in the Western society. So when we talk about Western model of secularism, it will be more concentrated, or it will be more focused upon this particular concept of intra-religious dominance. Okay, importance will be more given for intra-religious domination. So what happens is that the inter-religious equality will be neglected here, or the inter-religious equality is being neglected in the Western model of secularism. Right. Then we have seen that there is strict separation between state from church. And yes, another important difference, or another important point that you have to note under Western model of secularism is that in Western model of secularism, there is no scope for the state to aid some religious reforms. Okay, the state cannot support, or the state cannot support the initiation of any particular religious reforms. If any religion needs to be reformed in a positive manner, then the state cannot support it. Why? Because the state is strictly separated from the religion. It has nothing to do with regard to the religious affair. So it cannot support, or it cannot initiate any religious reform with regard to some particular religion. So that is another point you have to note down under the Western model of secularism, which says there is no scope for state supported religious reforms. There is no scopes, or a little scope for state supported religious reform. So that is with regard to Western model of secularism. Now when we talk about the Indian model of secularism, okay, we have seen that Indian model of, again, the Western model, it is the negative secularism, and Indian model, yes, it is the positive secularism that we are following. Now, with regard to Indian form of secularism, when we look onto the Indian model of secularism, we can see that right from the history, we are having this particular ideology of secularism in some way or the other. Whether it be in Rig Veda, where it is actually prescribing like truth is one, the learned may describe it variously, which means that every religion, its basic essence is actually telling about truth, or its basic essence is actually same. Every religion has got the very same basic essence. What we are doing is we are interpreting it in different various manner. Okay, so this particular, it is being prescribed in the Rig Veda itself. So right from the ancient time itself, we are having some sort of secularism in some way or the other. You can see it in the principle of Dharma, which is actually showing secularism. Or there is secular document like the Arthashastra, Kautilya's Arthashastra, which is again a secular piece of work. Again, Akbar's Din-i-Ilahi is another example where he actually proposed a secular type of religion. So, from the historical perspective itself, we can say that India is having the ideology of secularism embedded into its history itself. Right. Now, when the British came, we can say that actually, though the British divided, or they intended to divide India on the basis of religious lines, but the secular thoughts that it brought actually helped in institutionalization of secularism, or bringing in the principle of secularism. And during the freedom struggle itself, you can see, for example, take the case of Nehru Report of 1929. You can see the Nehru Report, which was published in 1928. You can see there what happened was that it actually stood for religious freedom. It actually stood for religious neutrality, or religious neutrality of the state, or it actually promoted, or it actually said it is the need for joint electorates than separate electorates, which all fostered secularistic principles that was needed by the Indian society. Then again, we know that our constitution actually relied upon the secularistic principles, but it was again made explicit in our preamble by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Then, yes, we know that there are many constitutional safeguards with regard to the religion, or we are having a fundamental right with regard to the religion that we need to profess and practice, which is guaranteed under Part 3 of our Constitution, which is a fundamental right of ours. So, our Indian secularism is actually relying upon the concept of Sarva Dharma Sambhava. The concept of Sarva Dharma Sambhava, which means respect for all religion. Our Indian society, or our Indian secularism, is actually accepting and recognizing and respecting all the religions. Right. Yes. So when we talk about Indian model of secularism, it is fundamentally, we know that it is different from the Western model of secularism. In Indian model of secularism, there is not that strict separation of state from religion. We know when it feels that certain religious rituals, if it actually take away the fundamental rights of the person, then it's against the constitutional morality. Then the state can interfere. So there is not that much strict separation between the state and religion in case of Indian model of secularism when we compare it with the Western model. Again, in India, or in Indian model of secularism, we know that our society is multi-religious, right? Or when we compare it with the Western society is homogeneous with respect to religion, whereas our Indian society is heterogeneous. Our Indian society is heterogeneous with regard to religion. So what happens is that when we take into account the secularism in India, we need to give importance to both inter-religious dominance as well as intra-religious dominance. Since there are many religions followed by the people present in our society, there is importance to both inter-religious and intra-religious domination. Whereas when we compare it with the Western concept, we can see that there the inter-religious equality is being neglected there because of the homogeneity of religion present there. So here both inter-religious and intra-religious domination, or both inter-religious and intra-religious equality, needs to be considered when we take into account the Indian model of secularism, or Indian model of secularism is against both inter-religious domination and intra-religious domination. Right. Now what all things you can see? Here Yes, what makes Indian model distinctive from the Western model is that first one is that it is having a focus on both inter-religious and intra-religious domination. For example, the Indian secularism, it equally opposed the oppression of Dalits and women within the Hinduism. Okay, so it is not only dealing with intra-religious, but it is actually against the inter-religious domination as well. The second feature, or which actually makes Indian model of secularism distinctive, is that it deals with not only the freedom with regard to religion of respective individuals, but also it deals with the religious freedom of minorities. That's why we say it is recognizing every religion. Okay, it is not only dealing with the religious freedom of individuals, but it is also dealing with the religious freedom of minorities. For example, you can talk about Article 2930, which all deals with regard to the minority groups and their religion. So, in India, we not only, the Indian form of secularism is not only actually offering religious freedoms of individuals, or it is not only recognizing the religious freedom of individuals, whereas it is also recognizing the religious freedom of minorities. Example is Article 29 and 30 that you can pinpoint. The next feature which actually makes Indian model of secularism distinctive is that it is actually compatible with the idea of state-supported religious reforms. Okay, here there is scope for state-supported religious reforms, unlike the Western concept where there is no scope for state-supported religious reforms, whereas in India, or in Indian model of secularism, our state, or we are having that particular scope for state-supported religious reforms. For example, we can take like there was ban on untouchability, which is actually against, or which was actually a concept of reforming the religion. The law was implemented. So that is a state action. So there is state supported religious reform. Again, ban on child marriage, ban on sati. So in Indian model of secularism, there is always scope for state supported religious reformations to take place. Right? So these are some of the peculiar features, or some characteristics which make Indian model of secularism distinctive from its counterpart of Western model of secularism.